How are you? Nice to see you again. Good to see you.
So everyone calls me Nicole Carter. My name is actually Chastity Petty Carter. Nicole's my middle name. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I work for the AIDS Task Force of Greater Cleveland. I've been in this field initially since I was 15. I left, came back because there was a call, there was a need. And I felt, well, someone looked at me and felt like I was able to actually meet that need. And I'm trying to do my best to actually do that. But it's like a hard thing to carry sometimes, especially being a part of the community. So,
So you decided to do social justice, civil rights, HIV related work.
yes.
Why?
My first week at working there, I had to test a 19-year-old who was someone that I knew. And when I tested him and he came back positive, um, the question that they asked him was, who can you depend on? And he looked and he said, just her. So if I had any doubt before then, it was in that moment that I realized, like, okay, yeah, they need someone. You know, when I was 15, I needed someone. You know, that's a conversation you don't really have in black communities or in black houses, and definitely not in black churches. So when you get a person that you can actually bank on, you don't want them to go anywhere. And when he said that to me, I felt like, okay, yeah, something got to change. Someone has to be here, and not just in a seat as a filler, but someone has to presently be here and care. So I'm still here almost a year later.
You and I had the opportunity to meet when I traveled to Cleveland.
Yes.
And we talked about so many of the challenges that women of color, but specifically black trans women, are facing in our communities. Can you just talk about, in terms of your experience, what you're seeing that black trans women are facing?
One of the things I can say that black trans women face right now is a lack of respect from just normal community, not just gay community, not just black, but just period. And then not enough resources to get from where we've come from being underground. You know, we have shows like Pose, and that now is a great thing because it spotlights trans women of color, and that's great, but it's just a show. And still, since that show, we've had like 3 or 4 murders of trans women of color. So the show's great to give you history, but in reality, we still have trans women that are still 16, 17 years old that still are doing commercial sex work. We still have women that are even in their 30s that are trans that are still doing commercial sex work and are at danger or at risk for rates of HIV, being beaten, being hurt. And personally, I've been in those places before. And it takes for a person to say, look, you are better, you are greater. And that talk is great, but where is the action? Where is the opportunity itself? And I think one of the things that we have to realize when it comes to trans women that they're scared. You know, I can say that I trust you or I say I'm here for you, but when you get me out of where I've come from, where are you going to lead me to next?
There's no follow through.
No follow through.
So, what do you think organizations like the Human Rights Campaign and other organizations that are working on these issues should be doing?
I think one of the biggest things, one of the great things like you did was have a conversation with trans women of color. That's great. But then when you all go back or other organizations go back and come up with these programs, are they being led by trans women of color, giving them the opportunity not just to be a research or a study, but giving them the opportunity to actually lead their own community out of the shadows? Because that's what it's going to take for a person to look like them that came from where they came from, that was given the opportunity to actually say, hey, I'm here, I've done it, I was given this chance, let me give you the same chance. We have to create the opportunity for them to come out of where they come from, not just a stipend, not just an incentive for being a part of an actual roundtable discussion, but a legit chance to change their life. Because one of the biggest things is having a job. If I don't care, if I don't know where I'm going to eat or sleep, I'm not going to care about trying to go and get medication or, or using condoms during sex. Because if a client chose to pay me double my price for no condom, I'm going to get double the price for no condom because I need to eat and I need to survive. So if we change the dialogue and actually give the chance, say, okay, yeah, we need your information, then lead it and lead your own community. That's creating a whole door, a new outlook, like I'm putting you actually in the game.
When we first started, you talked about why you got involved in social justice work. Mm-hmm. You talked about the importance of you actually doing this work so that, at least in the Black community, someone feels that they can trust someone providing the services. Mm-hmm. What scares you the most about doing this work?
If I don't do enough. My biggest fear is that I let somebody down, that I didn't give enough attention, enough resources, enough care, and I lost one. I can save 100, but even that one still means just as much as saving 100. And I think everyone deserves that same care. And it may be a big dream, or it may seem like, oh girl, that's impossible, but it's possible. Just a touch. I think someone asked me a question last night, what is your goal? And what is your biggest dream? And my answer has been the same since I was 6. I want to make sure that my life was worthwhile and it saved somebody else's life. That's it. That I made an impact on somebody. And if I leave this earth, they can say, she helped me and she changed me. So my biggest fear is losing just one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me? You can ask any question you want.
So, you can't do that. So, one of the things I admire since I met you is your passion to help trans women of color. And I know that you all started the initiative down south that's supposed to launch nationwide in January.
Good, you remember.
I remember. What other opportunities are you creating for trans women of color to get them from the shadows and into, I guess I can say, normal society, so to speak?
Well, what I'm hoping to do is get to the point that we are not talking about ourselves in silos, right? When we talk about LGBTQ, for so many people, those are labels. But they're actually real people behind those labels.
True.
And so where I want to get to, and it sounds lofty for some people, is get to the afterthought. Right? Get to the point where you are being recognized for who you are and respected and valued for who you are, and you're not being put in a box.
Or tokenized.
Or tokenized, right? Like you said, you come into this community, you have one meeting, or you advance a program, but you're not really engaging with the community. That's not what I'm interested in doing. We have to radically change how people perceive ourselves and how we perceive ourselves, right? Because we're talking about a value structure. Mm-hmm. You said this when we had the meeting in Cleveland, that Black trans women are being discarded. Over the past 5 years, we've had more than 100 killings. This year alone, we've had 17 as of today, right? So that's my goal, to get to the point where we can institute programming that we know is desperately needed, but also actively engage in the community, because a lot of this work is not going to be just, advance a program and the problem is solved. This is deeply rooted, and in different communities, the challenges will be unique.
Yeah.
Right? The problems in Cleveland are not the same problems in Dallas. The ones in Los Angeles are very different than Atlanta. And we have to think about, how do we create a toolbox for providing services and engaging with the community in an active, meaningful way. That's what I want to do, and I'll be working with you and others that have been doing this work to think about what can we create that's sustainable. Because I don't want to have a program for a year, because then it doesn't work.
Right. Okay, Alphonso for president.
Well, thank you. Thank you for agreeing to do this. I think this is important. One of the things I want to do is figure out how we can educate our community, the LGBTQ community, and the larger community on challenges that the trans community, and specifically Black women of color, trans women of color, are facing. And we're going to have to use a variety of tools to do that. and hopefully this is one of them.
I hope so.